Got another lecture for everyone. And this lecture is a bonus because I really did too much this week for you guys. But like I said, spring, summer, we got to always be. It's different from winter because winter is about thinking and summer is about action, right? And you'll go crazy. It's like you'll go crazy if you're just studying all winter and summer, right? That's why they give a summer break to get active. But really, it's summer work. We working, man. Yeah, spring and summer is the same shit to me. I don't know. I've always been like that. I've always seen it as the same fucking shit. You know, everything you were thinking about in the winter, then must come manifest. You activate in the summer, or at least I do. I think more balanced people do a bit of both, winter and summer. Like I know people who go out. Not to ramble, but I know people who go out during the winter time. All right, is my mic on? All right, let me just grab a. Okay, is it too loud? I got the big truck next to the window, so let me know if the Yeti is pissing you guys off. I'll close the window. Yeah, so like I said, you guys really don't deserve this one. I mean, I did one extra one for you guys already, but you guys are gonna get a bunch of bonus material because, again, I am a man of my word, and wintertime was just not active enough. Like I haven't plugged anything, but I got my criteria done late, which it sounds like crazy to say, but have you noticed anytime I'm late to something and I deliver, it's like better than me starting it on time? Have you ever noticed that? It's almost like that thing where it's like, hey man, you got to feed the wolves. You got to feed the wolves, but you didn't come back with a carcass and you're like 5 days late. So you're going to give them bonus hours or like bigger carcass, right? More meat. And by that I mean feeling, right? Because I have notes that I barely touch except last lecture, which if you missed that, don't miss any of these lectures. And I don't like channels who do this because it reminds me of those crypto guys who just leave voice notes in their stupid thing, in their stupid groups where they scam people. You know what I'm talking about? The telegrams and shit that they try and get us to join, or they try and get me to start one. But yeah, I don't like this no camera thing. But I will say one thing, I don't like people who turn the camera off. I've never liked them. Even if the content's good, I think the camera should be on. But I'm not saying it's gonna be off all the time. I'm just saying, have you noticed how much better the content is when I don't get distracted? Like it's horrible for clipping. Like this would be horrible if we're on YouTube. But even Destiny had phases of this. There's. I used to complain about it. It's like, yo, Steven, if we're gonna laugh, we want to see your fucking blue cuck face, blue face, baby. Like I keep looking for the camera when I start, and then I realize, oh shit, just go into your mind's eye and pull it out. And the first few times I got a really good reception, but I never listen to that. Like when you guys say, dude, that was good, I only listen to when I know it's good, right? But now, not just from the feedback, but those last two calls were so good. I dug up a video that was the trailer for those calls from a year ago, and I posted on Twitter because I felt bad for the people who don't know what these calls are about. I'm not going to leak your guys' calls and stuff. So I just leaked the trailer, the basics of it. Well, I dropped the trailer from like a year ago. And it's talking about everything we're talking about now, but now we're in like way greater detail. And by detail, I don't mean complicated. Like, who thinks the last two calls? Let me save that real quick. Hold on. Remind me to post that someone. And I see your guys' messages all the time on Twitter. So even if I don't respond, remind me. By the way, I want to promote Thick. Is it Thick Daddy? Yeah, I don't want to say Daddy, but Thick Daddy, because you clip up every clip of me speaking, and you code it, and you write down which clip it is, and you send it as 5 to 10 minute clips so I can actually get it through Discord without dead hex wasting 10 hours of my life. Bro, I want to promote that guy. You get unlimited whatever the fuck you want rights in this server. You can even ban someone, all right? We're going to give you total power. I want to give you a special role because holy shit, for the last year, I tell Dead Hex, yo, I'm on the go, so I can't just be at a computer to download this fucking clip for Twitter. I have to actually circle home just to post it on Twitter. By the time I post it, it's 9 p.m. and Jackson Hinkle yells at me, why are you posting stuff at 9 p.m.? That's not how you do Twitter. Zerka, you grow so much when you listen. And I'm like, yeah, I should, that's also my fault too. I wake up, like, you guys ever notice I wake up in the middle of the fucking night to start mass posting? And to be authentic, I'm like, you got to post from the heart. You got to post from the heart. And people are like, aren't these just drafts? Bro, I got 1,000 drafts I never fucking use. I always try to be on the exact... when I listen to a piece of an audiobook for the third time, so I know it well, and I post it on Twitter, let's say, do you know that I just finished listening to it that second I posted it? And in my head, then that way I'm on board with my whole cult, right? But no one does shit like this, right? It's actually very bad for business to be authentic. Like, bro, being real is great and all, but if you're posting at 3 a.m., your literal magnum opus, best fucking shit, it's just horrible. And I don't mean horrible just like business and finance. I'm saying like people don't find you. You get cluttered in the algorithm and stuff. And I have this like stupid thing about me where I'm like, I don't give a fuck. But what's the goal of what I'm trying to do? If I'm trying to reach as many people as possible, which I don't know if that's even the goal because I don't even YouTube anymore. But if I'm trying to reach as many people as possible, right? That's my like good deed in the world, right? That's the only way I know how to live. I can't do a mechanic job. I can't do anything else, right? I can't help you with your car parts. I can help you with your mind parts, right? To the best of my ability. And so I'm thinking like, damn, I've got discipline in every piece of my life, except there's nothing. I don't know what has to happen, but I can never be disciplined with algorithm times and when to post, when to go live, all that stupid shit, right? And I was thinking to myself, like, what a blessing and a curse. Because that way I'm doing whatever the fuck I want all the time. But what I really want is for nobody to miss the big tweets. I want everyone's noties on. And that's the part that I'm like, I don't want to say fail that because I don't even try. I haven't even tried to fail that, right? But wouldn't you guys be a lot happier if everything was structured like, for example, I'm always going live with you guys on these calls around this time? Isn't this better? Doesn't this feel like, oh, he did this last time. This is exactly when Zerka's going to do his call? Well, you guys are probably just thinking like, oh shit, he's doing a call. I thought he'd kick his feet up. I thought it's like, no, bro, you're gonna get a shit ton of information. That's not actually a good thing. Because I know that it takes a long time to absorb last lecture. And last lecture is one of those performances where I say, damn, that's for the history books, right? Was it last call or the last call? One of those two was even better than the other. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I know as a good content creator, I have to let you guys digest that and then give you the other one, the other one, and the other one, and right. But again, nigga, I work on my own schedule. I do things how I want. And so that means it's gonna feel like a little extra homework, right? Because let me tell you this, there's two people in this camp. The group listening to me and the group feeling good listening to me but not doing anything, right? And I've been that guy. But in hindsight, anytime I talk to my brother about our past, where we are come up, where we're at now, anytime we're talking about it, both of our biggest regrets was like you could always start earlier, You could always start earlier. You're never that busy, right? You're busy with bullshit. Humans are busy. I'll tell you this, man. I want to start this call before we take questions. I want to talk to you guys about something that's mind blowing. I posted that thing about Steiner talking about spirits of extreme morality, where they're so strict they take away your freedom and they want you to be a computer angel, versus uh, the spirits of darkness that just want to destroy you. And basically, he's coming to the point of saying you can be too moral. And I'm like, that sounds so fucked up to say. You can be too moral? What the hell does too moral look like? You can be too good? But the more you think about it, the more you realize, whoa, I know it's crazy and blasphemous to say this, but what does too moral even look like to us in just regular society? When you see a human that's too moral, have you ever seen someone that's actually a bad person to themselves? Like, for example, there's guys who are so afraid of sin, they'll never go on a date. And they're all over Twitter. You see them all the time, right? And they're like extremely moral, or so they think, right? Extremely Luciferic, floaty in their minds, right? They're doing right in their minds. Only there. And they'll follow someone like Nick who's doing it big, he's got a show and everything, and their lives are kind of getting wasted away, right? I'm not attacking them. I'm just saying there's a lot of people on earth that are just good people, but their morality is so high, and you can never be too moral. What do you could be too good of a person? But check this out. When your morals are so stretched high to the heavens, they become illusions, you start harming your own freedom. You're not sinning, you're doing fucking nothing. You're not out in the world. There's no way you can make a mistake in your room, right? And those people suffer the most. And those people were trained to champion our whole lives. Oh, you didn't make a mistake. Your whole life is like flying by, but you didn't make a mistake. And so, yeah, I just want to start the lecture off by saying you're moral when you're free. I said it last time. You're moral when you are free to do the right thing, not when you're locked up. Right? And it's going back to the big self, the big S word. It's about self. Now you'll see that, oh man, there's a lot of good people that really harm themselves. That's crazy. And they never get rewarded for their goodness, or they get rewarded as much as the next guy, which is nothing. Now, at first gut instinct, you're going to say, then the world is so fucking cruel, Zerka. That's so cruel that the most moral people in society are just still getting the fucking blunt end of things. And it's like, actually, no. The most moral people in society are cruel because they never actually got to smell any grass. They literally hate themselves and find things to stick to punish themselves. You know, it's crazy how all the animals on earth come out of man, all of your animal desires. You think out of all those desires, you're not supposed to go out into the world? You think God is that evil that he makes the world that tempting? And I'm saying for your mental health, right? If you don't go out, you get fucked up mentally. You can add, Chads know this now because we didn't have a world war. We had COVID, which affected the population the same as a world war. The same mental health crisis. And bro, I'm gonna keep it like a buck thousand. I really think people are coming out of COVID depression right now in this spring. I really think that 2023 is a great year for a lot of people. They say, but I'm starting to see healthier people right now. It took that fucking long. And how moral were we when we were in lockdown? Pretty sure we all drank less. We smoked less. We did everything less. But we were not free. And freedom's the only thing people can agree on with God, unless you're a Jehovah's Witness or something. But everyone admits that there's free will, which is actually wrong. There's only free will when you're out of influence, right? Like, for example, is an alcoholic free? Yeah, when he's away from the influence. But now check this out. If you're not moral, you get punished severely in this world. Never listen to Twitter and Instagram thoughts that they go viral saying the most nasty shit as if it's not self-evident that everyone gets what's coming to them. Like, let's be real, bro. You've seen what you're like on a 7-day work week versus a 2-day work week. You've seen the fruits. You've seen what your life looks like when it's active rather than when you're just getting a stimulus check. You've seen both sides of it. And you forget. If man forgets his own breakfast, so how the fuck does he remember if someone went through some negative karma or not? And how do you know when the timing is? You're not all knowing. So if you forget 80% of your day as an intelligent man, and you're just a machine of forgetting things, how the fuck are you so sure that bad people have great lives? You can't even remember 80% of your fucking day. Some Twitter fucking fake titty hoe. She got like 80,000 likes saying, seems like evil people just live the best life. What was that tweet? Did anyone see it? Seems like villains be having so much fun, or it seems like bad people get away with everything. It's like that in that theme, in that category. It's like, bitch, you don't remember your own breakfast? How the fuck are you tallying up karma? How the fuck you don't remember 80? You don't remember your daily goods and daily bads that happened to you. You remember one bad that happened to you 4 fucking years ago, and you keep reopening that wound because you're a fucking idiot. And yes, man is an idiot, right? When I say man, I mean man and woman. I can't think of a creature more free yet more caged. They have the potential to be free, but they're caged. Caged by what? To the communist? I'm caged by the elites, right? To the Groiper, oh, it's the Jews. It's bro. Look, you can point at power and influence, but to say you're in a cage in the world, what the fuck are you trying to do? Because the last time I checked, that billionaire is still fucking kicking a soccer ball. Ronaldo's the most fun Ronaldo has is not in the Lamborghini, it's when he's playing the game. So clearly you could go buy a fucking soccer ball and kick that motherfucker. You're not that off, bro. You're not that off. Except that when he was dirt poor, he didn't lock up the pedals in his heart. He opened his heart to loving the game, football. He had to. He had no fucking job. You'll go crazy if you don't. Most people on earth lock up their hearts and go mad. And man, if you could see what man really is, you'd never be afraid of a beast. And you'll know the number of the beast is fucking man. This is why I'd love to talk about portals. Because I really think dark dream states that I talk about all the time, these are the dark portals throughout the day we always go into in trance. Have you noticed when you're really getting harmed in the world, you're in a trance? The fuck is that trance about? Because let me tell you something. Sometimes months pass without anything bad happening to you, but you're still in a trance from years ago. He's just spitting in the creator's face saying, I know that happened a long time ago, but I choose to live in that portal because these 4 months of nothing bad happening to me, or sometimes even good things happening. And then, like, if you ever want to see how evil a man is, let him get his like dream car, let's say. He wants an upgrade within a month. Or he lies to himself and says, well, I'm just going to look around. It doesn't hurt to look. Really disgusting. Myron would talk about how someone in a happy relationship, if you give them a check mark and a bit of fame, they cheat right away. And we've seen the stats. Like, this is crazy when men get a little power in the world, right? A happy man, like a good guy, cheats, let alone the regular guy, right? So you can see the nature of man or woman when she turns into like Pokimane. You know, Pokimane's at a level of success where her heart is literally locked to the next portal, meaning this chick is, I think, 94, right? She's 30 or something. This chick, from what I know about her, I'm not trying to bad talk her or anything, but I'm saying like her heart's been so locked because of these blessings that she hasn't had like a real relationship in 10 years. And this is not like a man, you know, like a lot of men go, yeah, so what? I'm talking about a woman, bro. Like, how can you be sound minded like her? She's very sound minded, but her heart's been locked up for 10 years. How do I know this? You can see it in the face of a woman that's in a relationship versus a woman that's in this in between trying out new celebrities phase. You know what I'm saying? So it's a scary thing to realize, but I think it's a necessary way to live in this world is when you realize, hey, there's months where I was doing just fine and I was still memory holding something that I wasn't even thinking about. It just, I lived in it. I was in a trance and I was in that world, right? And sometimes coming to make this unconscious trance conscious, maybe in a therapy session, right? You talk to the therapist and blah, blah, yada, 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 da, 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 all that. But eventually it hits the client that, oh shit, I need to snap the fuck out of this. And the people who snap out of it the most snap out of it maybe like once every couple of weeks, which is horrible because you look at the highest functioning humans on earth. We're talking about health, wealth, and friends. You look at the highest functioning humans on earth, they're snapping every morning. That's how much they hate being in a trance. They have to snap out of that state every morning of their lives. And the really, really successful, hardworking people in the world, they're doing it by the hour. Have you ever talked to a really high level businessman and you tell him, hey, man, you hear from his team, oh, we can't get this done. And he'll look with laser ass focus like this nerd wants to kill you and stab you in the throat. He looks right at you and says, what do you mean you can't get it done? Because he's operating from a world where it's already done. It has to be done. This is what he fucking pays his team for. There is no to the winners. I got that from 50 Cent interview at the stadium. Such a good interview. If you don't like all these black rappers and all that, I get that. I'm telling you, 50's business brain it's not what you think. You'd be surprised. Like this guy, he's learned from nerds. He even talks about how these are nerds in the streets, but in the business world, they get what they want because they'll never enter that trance state, that loser trance state. And people are like, well, why do most humans enter these trance states of being a loser? Because they love to cut themselves. Man cuts himself psychically more than that emo bitch they make fun of on Twitter that does it physically. Now ask yourself, why is she physically harming herself? She's in a dream. She's in a dream state. She's in a dark trance. And if you said it to her, she would dissociate because it's too much to bear. The thought of actually pulling off the shackles. That's too much. I haven't learned enough. I have to be in the dirt more. This is why the prisoners that get locked up, the ones that grab books and constantly take their mind away from being locked up, they actually make it out. But the prisoners that are in a trance, when they do make it out, they're back in within 2 weeks. They spent maybe 8 years in prison, didn't read a fucking book. And I never think it's the content of the book, really. You know, as much as I like to preach, people read the wrong shit, and I believe that. At rock bottom in a prison cell, bro, just words will reorganize your brain. Any book will do at that level. You will identify with any character in any book, even especially if it's like some garbage fiction, right? And this is why people hire life coaches. I don't want to be an adult, so can you keep snapping me out of it? This is why people hire personal trainers to snap them out of these states. And it's like, dude, do you know how many billionaires are like dying of sugar with a fitness coach? Because the coach knows he cannot reach in this fat ass's inner world. They could be effective for some time, or when they're feeling motivated, or when everything's going correct. But really, anyone you've ever seen that's fit or successful, they did it on their own. Even if they had a coach or a therapist, they got to the point where they went, okay, as terrifying as this is to realize, it is on me. It is on me. They get to that point, and here's the crazy thing is, it's so, you're in such a fearful state when you're about to realize this, but when you do realize it and you change your life, every single day that you're doing better, you start wondering, what is that fear connected to? Because nothing bad has happened. It's been day, week, month, it's been years, I'm doing great. What was that fear all about? And you find out, holy shit, the thing you were most afraid of, which is it's on you, actually comes with nothing, no negative. It doesn't come with a shadow. There's nothing bad that comes from taking that responsibility. Your mind will try and run to, well, it's going to take up more time in my day, so I can't play this video game, or it's going to do this, it's going to do, and it's like, no, none of that. None of that ever happens. Well, it's hard to work hard, and no, it's not. You've worked hard in your life for some things, and for other things you haven't. Some things you are more conscious of, some things you are more programmed in a state, correct? Realizing that the self, the core, is the whole organizing principle to mental health, realizing that the therapist doesn't actually get you there might be a good tool, but who has to hold that fucking tool? You. Now, I know you tell like a 22-year-old this, some more mature than others, but most are going to be like, ooh, I like what you're saying, Zerka. It makes me feel great. But I cannot apply this. And it's like, okay, but what choice do you have? Because no human has ever found a way to live other than taking responsibility. Like, there's never been a way out. Like, think about the things you want. They're blurry. They change, they shift. Sometimes you're scared that you might not even want that. But think of the state you want. That never changes and it always looks the same. It always feels the same. And you start going like, damn, are we not supposed to chase our dreams? Are our dreams supposed to chase us as we're in the state of being who we want to be? Wait a minute. You don't go out and catch fish. You have bait, you have a magnet, and fish come to you. Have I been living my whole life wrong? How much potential and abundance is there in seeing the world inverted? But it's not inverted. It's the right way. That's clear eyes. That's how you're supposed to see the world. That's how we were trained in ancient times to see the world. And you're just thinking like, but my eyes and nose point forward into the outside world, so I have outside things to blame. It's like, yeah, but you and 8 billion other people, I'd say 8 billion other people are in a trance state. Like, there's only the top, what is it, 1% who really figure out their minds? And do you really think they're out reading these books I read and stuff like that? That's a great way to scam people. I could say, hey, guys, these geniuses in the world know what Zerka knows. They read my books. That's not fucking true at all. When have you ever even seen any intelligent, high-functioning person in the world? When have you ever seen them talk about the things I talk about or the books I talk about? No, you have never seen it, but you've seen their state. You've seen how intuitively they already do what we talk about here. And here's the crazy thing about success. If you don't want to get your life started, I recommend you find videos that match of winning, of success, of motivation. I don't even care if it's corny, cringe stuff, but compile data when you watch stuff like this, and it's everywhere. There's sometimes TikTok reels and all that. But the more data you compile, the more you'll realize they're all saying the same thing. And I'm not saying like you have to meditate on this to figure it out. I mean, it's open out in the air. Everyone is saying the same thing. Every successful person is saying the same thing. They're never saying out in the world, they're literally saying you can change who you are now. They're saying the same thing. Every person, with Kobe, with LeBron, with Jordan, with business world, they're all saying the same shit. Or if you don't want to look at all that stuff, why don't you study the common man? Like, ever since I was young, all I did is study average people, especially when I'm like walking around town or at the mall. I go, what is it up? What is up with these poor people here? Because I get that most people don't want to level up. They're in that state, right? It's called comfort or whatever they think it is. But when you really study poor and average people, you'll see people who cannot change their garment. You'll see people who are too afraid to die in the day of their daily self. They're too afraid to let go of because it feels different. It feels foreign when I do what you say. It feels foreign when I do what I say. You know, for most people on earth, I can tell them to do something. It doesn't feel that foreign. It feels like, oh, I know, Zerka, whatever. But did you know that if you tell yourself what to do throughout the day, it'll feel so fucking foreign to you? It's like if I told you, hey, why don't every time you get up and shower, I want you to stand in the corner of the shower where you never stand and finish your shower from that corner. You know how uncomfortable you would be saying, that's not how I stand when I shower, though. This is not the side of the shower. This is kind of cramped on this side. But then you're realizing, oh, wait a minute. I cannot actually implement my will. You know, people try and break. I'll say break the will, the fake will of influence. They cannot break their will, let alone implement their true I am presence in the world. Some people try and break that influence through, I'm going to get fit and do push-ups. But it's not just a fitness thing. It's every moment of your life you can observe. You know, if I told you guys, why don't you stand differently? I don't care how you stand. I don't care if it hurts your back. Why don't you stand differently? If you're very used to sitting in the world, why don't you spend that time from sitting to standing, not for some hard work, faggot ass motivational shit, but just to see how uncomfortable it is when you are out, when you are leaving this shell of influence. When you tie your shoe, why don't you tie it really slowly? Because you're usually rushing to places, right? You rush to places even when you got nowhere to go. That's anxiety. So when you tie your shoe, why don't you tie it 10 times slower and see how uncomfortable you'll feel? Because that's not your state. Why don't you sit at a park on the grass? You haven't done that in 10 years and feel how uncomfortable you feel. I don't do this. This feels weird, even though literally you're at a park sitting. What the fuck are you supposed to do there? And the more you do things that are not of your character, you'll realize, oh shit, I hate that character that does things the same way all the time. This is what militaries do when they get their soldiers uncomfortable to break their will. And I'll tell you this, it's even more uncomfortable than being in the military, because in the military, you're like marching, following orders. But what happens when there's no military and it's just you versus you? Are you ever going to follow the right orders from yourself? And the more you realize, holy shit, I've been in the same program for 5 to 10 years that I can remember. I've been in the same routine. And I'm not that kind of guy who says change the routine and all that shit. But do the routine differently and just notice the difference from the state. Now you can see a mega leap, a quantum leap, when you get an introvert to get out of their house. That level of discomfort is insane in the beginning, right? I had one guy who was so introverted that after a year of getting him to be at the bar, he developed a drinking thing. He liked having a couple beers, right? He became a normie after a year, but it took him months to just be comfortable breathing at a bar or being, right? That's what breathing is. And he comes up to me and he says, Zerka, I feel like a whole new person, but I didn't get anything accomplished this year. I'm like, what do you mean? Can't you stay outside now? Weren't you always a homebody? He's like, yeah, but I have the opposite problem now. I'm always outside. I'm never home. I'm never going to work. I'm just at the bar with my homies that I met from there and blah, 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 blah. And the manager knows me and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, this is the integration process because guess what? As soon as you realize you're wasting your life at the bar now, you can start to integrate by meeting everything in the middle. The middle would be you staying home and you going to the bar. What's the middle of that is a social person who gets their fucking work done and has a good paycheck. But why does man get obsessed with the thing he's doing, the hard part? Why does he get obsessed with that where he changes his state to a bar guy from a fucking nerd? Why can't he just do both? Because he's adopting the state. The state is still locking him up. He's locked as a wannabe extrovert now. Now, did he do anything wrong? Well, that's how we all learn, so I guess not. Did it take him too long to learn his lesson? Has he developed a drinking problem? Probably. Who the fuck drinks a couple beers every day of their life? That doesn't sound normal. But now he can't stay home and be a fucking full-time computer programming nerd. And he can't be at the bar because Zerka's going to call him a fucking loser for wasting his life at a bar. Well, where do I waste my life? At home or at the bar? It's both, man. You need to be integrated. You need to learn the skills of when to be social, when to fucking put your head down and go to work. And you know what's crazy? Because there's some cuties at the bar, he always has a better imaging process for when he's working hard. He'll always be like, yeah, I put my head down, made a shit ton of money, and for my lifestyle, it's a good money and stuff. Because I was thinking of this one girl who laughed at my joke at the bar. You know how man sex transmutation, you know how you always has an image? Even sometimes the image is like a fake woman in their head, like a fantasy woman, but there's always something there. But it's more colored when it's a real person in your head. And it's like, but Zerka, are you saying that everything we've ever watched in the movies, TV, or even anime world, are you saying that all of it is pointing us to psychic wholeness? And it's like, yeah, as cringe as the main character of every anime is, he's you. He's your best you living his deepest myth, the myth of the main character, right? What is Ash Ketchum, or that's not an anime, but you know what I'm saying? What is the main character experiencing? Who cares? It's experience he's building. That's why as the character changes in the anime, you love him more, even if he's corny. So when you see you're always supposed to be uncomfortable and stuff like that, I don't think that's a good way to teach it at all. I think that scares a lot of people too. Like this, you get used to discomfort. Yeah, sure, you can get used to discomfort, but if you don't know where you're going in your head, you're kind of always panicking, which means you become a worse magnet to your own world. But if every time you're showering, you're using this hand, you're using this different soap, everything is different. It's almost like you cannot be predictable because even in routine, it's a different shampoo, a different angle, it's a different part of the shower. The proof you're falling asleep. Yeah. Okay, let me fix that. I'm not saying routine is a bad thing. I'm saying if you're doing your routine every day differently, different soap, different hand you used to wash, different, just always a little uncomfortable because it's not that it's hard. It's that it's a state of you being different, which means you're dying. The real you is fading away as the you who showers with the left hand is coming into resurrection. But Zerka, how the fuck does that help me in life? Because if you're always taking a different walk home, you're always doing it differently. If you're doing your day differently, you will always feel if you're doing your day differently, you're always feeling something Mike, check. Hex, you're muted. Okay, am I back? Yeah, I'm not saying to break routine. You're still gonna go to the gym. You're still gonna walk that way home. Maybe different streets, right? That's always how you should be approaching the world, even if it means you're 5 minutes late. But check this out. You're not doing things different throughout your day for just the discipline. You're doing it for the awareness because when you're aware of something, discipline becomes very easy. If you're aware of something in your body that's harming you and you know how to bilocate it, you know how to fix the problem. So you want to stay in awareness or the moment, mindfulness practice, right? And it's like this. Everyone I've ever explained this to, they always came back and have said to me, you know, I can't even be alone without thinking about what you said because guess what? I am trapped in routine. Not that routine is bad, but it comes with something. It comes with a state of mind that can never dream bigger. It can never portal bigger. It can always do the same kind of looping portals. Now, like I said last lecture, look at Speed. That guy looks like he showers with his foot sometimes just to be interesting to himself. Do you think Speed is in routine or is he in awareness? And what's crazy is all the mystery schools who taught humans how to think, awareness was the biggest of the basics. Because that's when you can start even being a good moral person, is when you're aware of your negative thoughts and your good thoughts and your bad thoughts. Or if you read Steiner, you'll know that every single thought is a world, which is terrifying. That's terrifying. No, it's not. You can purify the thoughts and have infinite amounts of good worlds that you keep bouncing off of. Now, check this out. When you feel different, you've showered a little differently, you've tied your shoe a lot slower, you actually didn't tie your shoe until your mind stopped saying, do it faster, do it now, do it, do it, do it. Until your mind is your bitch, this is not your world. Until your inner world is not mastered, the outer world is, it can give you everything and you'll feel like you have nothing. This is obviously going to be scary for a lot of you because you're going to realize I'm always in a rush to go nowhere. You know what I mean? But it's not scary because as soon as the rushing goes away and you start taking control, like, have you noticed many people can be disciplined at the gym with the body and stuff, but they can't be disciplined with the mind? Have you noticed that? And it's like, until you are never rushing, you are not a magnet. Every human on earth wants to lick my ass for something, even if I'm not offering anything. Maybe I have nothing to give them. Maybe they're living a totally different lifestyle. And I've noticed when I am the magnet, when the whole world is just chatting, Zirka, Zirka, Zirka. And it's like, shut the fuck up, bro. I'm trying to get head in the new Corvette in a few days. Like, shut the fuck up. I liken it to Sneeko. I feel like Sneeko is a successful person that doesn't understand being. Have you noticed he's always rushing somewhere? And, some of you guys are like, wow, this is so base that Zerka must never be rushing anywhere. Are you kidding me? Do you know how easy it is to fall back asleep? That's why the disciples kept being told, don't go to sleep by Jesus. Or Adam fell upon a deep sleep. Do you remember when Adam fell upon a deep sleep and everything horrific happened? You don't want to be asleep in the world. You don't want to be asleep in the world if you're making good money, and you don't want to be asleep if you're making bad money. This is why a lot of people commit suicide when they make a lot of good money. Did you know a human cannot harm themselves when they're awake? And I'm not saying awake totally, like a bunch of these pop culture spirituality channels talk about, like, I'm woke, I'm awake, I'm out of the matrix. No, there's layers to awake, just like there's layers to sleep. The highest level of awake would be like a Buddha or a Bodhisattva or an initiate, right? But there's many layers of consciousness under that, and then many layers of unconsciousness after that, which is really the average man or the homeless person. They'd be in the deepest part of sleep, which I really think, it sounds crazy to say. I study humans, I look at their facial expressions, I sense them. I really think the average man suffers more than the homeless. I really do, in some weird way. Because it's like more like basic needs and hunger that gets solved there. The problem solving is very primal, versus when you have the basic needs and you're just being tortured in your own mind. Where it's not the mind is like an ocean, bro. It's not yours. You're a receiver of information. You can tune into information you want to receive. For example, did you know 90% of the conversations you have with another human, you're in a trance state and so are they. And the only time you guys ever reach a good conclusion or a stronger friendship or teamwork is when you guys see the same thing, meaning you guys are awake to see it. But most of the time you're talking past each other. And it's whoever's dreaming more that's suffering more, but they're both suffering. And people want to come up to me and say, what do you think of these spirituality channels and stuff? I'm like, bro, if it's not psycho spirituality, if it's not therapeutic, I don't ever want to talk to you about it, because I don't have enough time on earth to review these systems of living that are not flexible. If your system of living is not flexible, you are not going to make it. For example, a rigid structure that makes you successful, if it's very rigid, a lot of people like jump off a bridge as they have the Porsche in the garage. Have you heard of those stories? What the fuck happened to that guy? And people are like, well, Zerka, how do we stay awake? And it's like, not only is it a you answer that you have to solve, but you gotta be around people that keep waking you up and you waking them. That's what teamwork is. Have you noticed every basketball game of a bunch of souls on the court are just trying to wake up until they become a teamwork of a group soul where they're all feeling the same joys and seeing the same plays? But it takes a while for them to wake up And these are masters of success. These guys get paid shit ton of money to do what they love. That's what a master is. A master's filled with love, the rainbow body, light. But you're telling me the masters have trouble waking up? That's why they're playing for hours a day and they're training all day. And if the masters are having trouble waking up, what the fuck are you doing? And here's the crazy thing is, as dramatic as I love making it so it penetrates you guys, it's actually not scary at all. And I'm not saying that to be the leader here, you know? No, if we're fighting a dragon, I'm gonna tell you guys the truth, you know? I'm gonna be like, hey, you might freeze and we might lose this one. So get ready for a bit of fear. But let me tell you this. It's not building fear. It doesn't compound. It doesn't turn into a tsunami. It's just something you can handle. But when you're asleep, the fear is a tsunami and it only gets larger. And you know, the next day it starts off as like small waters again and it builds throughout the day. And you're thinking to yourself, like, wait a minute. When I do nothing, the world is scary. But when I adopt the moment, the I am presence of having what I want, and I'm active in the world, engaging with the world, I'm not doing this just daydreaming shit. Here's the beautiful part is the blessings come to you as a surprise, so you can never be bored of blessings. You know, you see anyone who's like got their dream car, dream house, or whatever, it comes to them in a different way, even though the system's kind of the same. You know, it's a mastery of self that gets what he wants, right? And so there's no boredom to winning in the world because it's always going to come to you as a surprise or as a different kind of game or with a bit more struggles than you might have thought and blah, blah, blah. But it's always fun. It's always a Pokemon adventure, bro. Everything away from the self is building anxiety, fear, all this nasty shit that is illusion. There is nothing greater in this world that harms you than dream states you adopt that are illusionary. And here's the crazy part of how flexible I'm pushing you guys to be is, did you know that when you're a winner and you get trapped in a winning system, you start to lose the fire again, even as a winner, because you're holding on to that garment, but it's a new day. So those guys who say be 1% better, they're actually saying to you the state has to be different by 1 whole%, which is huge, right, to a human. You know, have you ever seen that quote of, if we use 10% of our brains, we'd be like super alien geniuses? And yeah, yeah. And now check this out. How do I know if I'm doing it right, Zerka? Does it bring well-being or discomfort? And what kind of discomfort is it? Is it a discomfort of a giggle? Like, this is weird. I'm standing differently in the shower. Because that's fine. But if it's bringing you fear, you're doing it wrong. You've never seen a winner in winning phases that's full of fear. He might have some fear, but it's always like this pool he can manage, the waves he can manage, right? You know what's crazy is we didn't have a global war like World War II. We had COVID. And if you look at the studies, it fucked people up the same way, just not as vicious as PTSD. But I guarantee you, many humans have a COVID PTSD that lasted a couple years of, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. So it's having the same detrimental effect. It's just not puncturing you in 3 weeks worth of war. It's puncturing you over 3 years. And time isn't even fucking real, man. There are some of you who download what I say and realize, oh, my memory is full. I can't even download what Zerka's saying because I already knew this. I just like the way he said it. Or I'm ready to, I'm ready to receive it is really what it is. Some people are just always downloading and some people like, boop. And so some people in 7 days change their whole world. Some people in 7 weeks. Most humans on earth, We've seen it time and time again after they're finished college and all that. It takes about 7 years. Have you noticed most people finish college and they say, Zerka, I started making money after like 5 to 7 years after college, which is very normal, by the way. I don't want to like, it takes a long time to study the self, especially if you're doing it intuitively. But if you're doing it as like a full-time thing, which no one really does unless they go to a temple, and then they don't really study themselves because they're just in the mountains on a temple. They're not, you didn't incarnate in that time. You incarnated in a city for a reason, right? If you ever think, if you ever think to yourself that there's a coach out there that has the information for you to go to the next level, let me just break it to you right now. He doesn't exist. And there would be, and I know this is going to shock your world because every single YouTube save yourself, get help channel, every channel starts their YouTube thing with the clickbait, right? We do clickbait like the secrets of this, the secrets of that, how to this, the secret of longevity, lifespan, the secret of wealth. And every fucking channel doesn't realize, and they don't know. I don't think they're evil. They might actually think that they're all knowing and shit. Maybe they're that egotistical, but they don't realize that over time, man studies himself and pulls himself out of the dirt. This is why a lot of people around 28 get their shit together because they had enough time to download the self. There are many people who have done it in 7 months. They lock in, they do it in 7 months, except it's one dimensional. So maybe it's a six pack, maybe it's the gym, which always leads to problems when it's one dimensional because it's like they've changed their self into being a fit guy, but every other area of their life is kind of now you're just mixing the bag, taking the good and the bad, and they can't actually apply what they did in the gym to their real world. And what did they do in the gym? They studied the self. They studied their own metabolism, the foods they're supposed to eat, what they're supposed to do in the gym, what they're supposed to train at, what level they're supposed to train at, or recovery. Have you noticed humans recover at different rates? And recovery is the big difference of you putting more weight on, which means volume over time, which means a lot more muscle sooner. But if humans recover at different rates, how are you thinking to yourself we all recover from the same trance we're in at the same time? That's not true. Some of us hate ourselves more, right? And when you hate the self, I'm not talking about yourself, I'm talking about the big self, the I am. You are hating what's in the kingdom of wind. You're hating God. Because I guarantee you, any human who has conversation with God, they're very activated in the world. They go, as much as I want to be up there, I really want to get what I'm supposed to do on earth. I want to get that done. Near-death experiences have activated so many people. Have you noticed that? And have you noticed how many humans actually go through a near-death experience by the time they're 45 and their life totally turns the other way? But the near-death experience is just bringing the unconscious to the conscious life. So for me, my transformation promises to myself were always destructive, but they came with a new state of being, right? And I really didn't have to do things that way every single year for the last 8 years, right? Couple years win, couple years, every year something bad has to happen. No, it doesn't. There's enough on your plate. You don't have to do more to yourself. What's crazy is when the world's giving you shit, you can always handle it, but you can never handle it when you're giving yourself shit. So Jordan Peterson made $50 million in sales because he said, change your state and stand up straight before you start your day. And so many young people change their lives with literally a fucking graham cracker of information. I would never talk shit about that graham cracker because it got the job done and it helped a bunch of people. I'm focusing on the graham cracker like if a human can do all that, become a lawyer, because Jordan Peterson said that in his book that was kind of dry to me. I don't think it was dry to all these young. I loved him, so he did something for me, right? But check this out. If a human can do all that with a tiny bit of information like that, just a memory process. How did they get activated? Is an image floated up from their unconscious and activated their eyes, Sharingan, into a fucking winning Uchiha, right? But now check this out. The youngins knew that already. There was no initiation for them to learn it, but they knew it already. That's why they only took a graham cracker. And they always fall off the wagon and go, Jordan doesn't do it anymore for me. Jordan doesn't do it. Maybe I'll pay Zerka. Maybe I'll pay Andrew Tate. Maybe I'll pay Sneeko. Maybe I'll... Bro, Jordan never did it for you. You did it yourself. That's why when you're listening to Jordan, you got something different from the average woman who cannot absorb the man talking. She absorbs other things. That's why some of your friends just look at Jordan and go, oh, this is good information, and you actually feel it and it touches you. Because you're in a deeper process of remembering. So when the ancients, Thales, when he said, know thyself, we're talking about freedom here. And when you see how much this self keeps on changing when it's it's an illusion, but when it's rock hard and correct, it never changes. You go, wait a minute. That year where I won and got that job I wanted, I tapped into this self called confidence. And I'm going to use the word confidence so I confuse everyone in the world, including myself. No, you tapped into a different state of being. And if you studied being, you would study the right way to be. And the right way to be is always without fear. Do not be afraid. But John, that means I should do exercises throughout the day to not be afraid. Has that worked for anyone? I mean, it's masked the problem temporarily, but at the end of the day, they got to face their own soul. This is why I love breath work, not just Logan Paul. Logan Paul loves his breath work. Jake Paul loves it. I love it. Because I love to expel all thinking for a big portion of my day, because it's the portion that starts my mind. The rest is just impressions I receive from whatever. It's not even me. And it's like, I'm sitting there thinking, like, you can look at the masters of the world and they're not even close to the ancients, because the ancients were doing this since 6 years old. Since the mystery school's 6 years old, right? And so they're on different waves of being. And the world was a lot more wholesome too. They'd fall out of states or fall into psychosis, and their mythology would turn about the gods of war, because they want to kill. They're bloodthirsty. They're out of that state, and they're in some other evolutionary part of their life. And when you realize that, oh man, I don't know anything about myself. Actually, you do, because when you got your dream job, you were disciplined and you were confident. There is the self right there. Do you really think you got that job because you studied a bit or she liked you a little more, or blah, blah, blah? Or was your inner world actually forcing the outer world to say, actually, he deserves to be here? Like, I remember cutting all the bullshit in my sales job as a young man. My first job I got that was real, that wasn't trashy. And she said, the district manager, Vivian, said, okay, John, we'll let you know. And then before I left, I knew that there's a bunch of people who just did that job interview, and I knew that I needed to stand out, but really, I was done with the bullshit. So she said, is there any questions you have for me? And she's like getting ready to leave because, everyone says no. And usually I don't like to talk that much. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in that room. I just want to wait on the call. But I needed the job. So I said, yeah, actually I do. I have a question. And the whole interview went from her interviewing me to, I'm the boss and you're my fucking bitch. And she looked up and stared at me with this blank stare of, am I being fired by someone I just met? And she's turned on. She was extremely, like, her eyes were different now. She said I was cute, but good for the job, sales, and the gym. She's like, you got to be fit, you got to be good looking, and she's saying like you should look the part, you shouldn't be too out of shape and stuff like that. But now there was genuine interest, and when I said, yeah, I do have a question, I looked right into her honestly and said, do you see me working here? As in, don't waste my fucking time, bitch. As a 21-year-old young kid. And she started smiling from ear to ear. We were having fantasies in front of each other right there. And she got so quiet and she said, honestly, as in not to offend the people waiting outside. And I took my binder of literally nothing. I just brought a binder to look important. And I think it was like my resumes, and that's about it. And I walked out that bitch knowing I had the job. But before that, I always was just moved boxes. I never knew I never knew that I could know what it's like having a real job before I got the job. That's like knowing how to fucking throw a spear before you've ever thrown one. Well, that's what confidence is. And now I fucked up my life after that, and I lost that state for a long time, and I would do everything I can to find it, but externally, it's nowhere to be found. Certain spirits you get into that take you places, but it's always back to rock bottom eventually, because the state wants rock bottom. The state is so miserable. Such a, like, when you think of how much man molests himself, it's actually sad. But it's not sad because the moment you think it's sad, boom, you're trapped in that fucking mindset. All right, questions. Let's go. How was that one? I had 2 to 3 notes, so I liked it. As much as I love helping people and giving them information, I really have to beat a dead horse by going back to the self, because I want you guys to actually be free. I want you guys to actually be like, okay, I didn't get a Zerka call today, so I'm going to do it myself. I don't need Zerka. It's just a bonus. Every energy, every impression you get from the world is going to feel like a bonus when you take charge of your fucking life. And you can take charge of your dinner. For example, let's say you stop eating food with your phone out and you start tasting the food again like a normal human being. This is studying the self. This is huge, but it's going to torture you in the first week. You're going to be like, well, I just need to watch my YouTube. How many fucking YouTube videos have you watched that you can't enjoy a fucking 10-minute meal? Like a fucking idiot. You always have to be extra comfortable. You can never just be comfortable. You're babying yourself. Your state is a baby. You're gonna get babied by women. They're gonna be like, oh, he's like a little fucking friend to me. He's like a little brother. The more you baby yourself like a bitch. This is why I recommend the best thing to happen to men was masculine shit. Masculine shit always sharpens you. It's like diamond, you become a diamond under pressure because your state is constantly changing. John, how many states? You have 1,000 U's. Your name is Legion, bro. You have a lot of U's that need to be disciplined by the I am. And you know what's crazy is you don't fight that. You think you're fighting them, but as you start to build momentum with living a life where you study self, it's a lifelong process. You start realizing they're not even villains, man. These other yous in you that you've always resented, they're not even villains, man. They're like kids who want a leader, right? They're like sheep who want to be led. They're parts in time where you got trapped and they keep floating up as picture consciousness that takes over you. That's why I recommend going to zero, so there's no pictures left except the truth. And at the truth of imagination is you get to select, you get to create, you get to do whatever picture you want when all the other pictures say at the same time, your idea is better than mine. But for the most of your life, all of those yous holding one picture that they want to torment you with, all of them are screaming, my picture is better. My picture is better. None of your pictures are even free. You guys are all shackled. Now you can discipline yourself to the bones and fight yourself and become like a monk. But that doesn't even get the job fully done, because what have you really done besides beat yourself, your different versions of yourselves, right? These kind of phantom ideas that are real in their own way, like they're real as in they're guiding you all the time. They're taking your hand and doing things with it. They're going to websites you shouldn't be going to and all that. But really, it's like they're not that bad once they're following you. They all line up single file like children and follow your I am. I am successful. I am healthy. I am whatever I want to be. So when we talk about the state of nothing, how do you describe nothing? How do you think of nothing? I don't get how that's intuitive. Nothing means infinite potential. What do you think infinite potential looks like? It doesn't have a look because it could be anything. Therefore, it's nothing until you choose. And what's crazy is the sun is going to shine so much brighter as you study the self that you're going to realize there's no other way a human actually lives. And you're going to realize why you surround yourself with friends and family is because that's also the study of the self and how you engage with them. And you're going to realize people are standing up straighter around you because you're standing up straight. And you're not going to ever have that feeling of, oh, they're copying me. You're going to have that feeling like, oh, I'm waking them up slowly as well. This is good. We wake each other up for hours in our day and we're in bliss. Now imagine if we dedicated our whole lives to being awake. And when you're awake, you don't want anything. You don't want anything. When you start your work day, you'll have things you want. But right now, before you start your day, you don't want anything from anyone. Every contract you're rushing to sign can fucking wait. And a bigger one comes every single time. Some of the most successful people turned down $20 billion. They wouldn't sell their businesses, like Henry Ford. And there's always something bigger. But when you rush and you want to sign something right away and you're living in your cheapest state, you get snaked out of that contract harder than anyone on earth because you are moving like a snake. Of course, you deserve that. You snake the self. That's a big no-no. Your center of consciousness, your awareness is everything. That's why they want you watching their Super Bowl shit. They want you tuned into their world building. It's not even their world, it's yours. That's why you're seeing it through your eyes, not theirs. It's your world. And it starts from within, right? It sounds scary. It sounds like I'm too young to receive this much responsibility of the universe. And it's like, dude, no, you're not. In ancient times, they were doing this at 16, 17 perfectly. Although now they would say to us, to our faces, if they're right in this call right now, they would say, Yeah, but you guys got to experiment more. They'd always see the positive in the way we live, even though they, chronologically, it makes a lot more sense to start this at a young age. Have you ever seen a boxer who knows his I am presence and then he quits boxing and becomes an alcoholic because his sense of self died and there's nothing else to him? The impression died. He got old, he stopped boxing, etc. The impressions die. I always say the most dangerous thing in the world is not zero opportunity, because we've all done amazing shit when we had no opportunity. We all locked in at some level. But when every door is open, I can't pick a door. Nowadays, and this is scary too, because people focus on this as being too good of a thing. I don't think it's that great. Nowadays you can make content and get paid for it from your home about literally anything. There's some dudes who just wanted nice cars, so they made top 10 things YouTube channel where they don't even show their face and they hire other people to do the whole thing. But they ran it like a business and made millions and millions of dollars because they understood, hey, you can be successful in a billion different ways. What does that bring you is you get paralyzed. Which way should I go? It's like, bro, if any human on earth tells you the way, they're lying to your face, because you enter a journey that evolves. The road has 10 different paths once you're on one path, meaning most people go to university to study one thing and end up in a completely different position in their life. But they're only in that great position because they actually went to university. They entered the arena. You are a gladiator in the world. You have to enter that arena to get what you want, or shut the fuck up. Does that make sense? At what point does experimentation become an excuse? I don't know what you mean by that. Experimentation? Like trying different career paths? Is that what you mean? I really don't think you should focus on that. I think you should focus on, when have I been paralyzed in my past, and to not dwell on that. When have I been paralyzed right now? And what is it that's paralyzing me? And you'll realize that it's infinite opportunity that paralyzes you. You can go any which way. When you're doing things for yourself that come with a sense of well being, your only goal is to increase that state of well being. So you're going to stop drinking beer, because that doesn't bring well being at all. It brings you into some funny adventures that kind of disappear as soon as you sober up, right? How do I stop negative images when doing visualization? For some reason, I start seeing everything in detail, then randomly something random comes in and ruins it. Actually, Neruda, I'm glad you asked that, because it's called in the Chinese system. It was called, in the ancient Chinese system, it was called the 10,000 things. Oh, the 10,000 things has come to bombard my mind, right? And you're going to notice over time you get a lot more skillful with that. Does it mean that 10,000 things goes away? Never. Even when it becomes your bitch, you can go to sleep and wake up the next day the same as you were a year ago. You understand? I'm not saying I didn't do my ritual. I didn't do my routine. I didn't. No, you woke up afraid of something. That's why you snap back into that old mode of thinking. A lot of you guys immediately lock in with what I'm saying when good things start happening to you. And I'm here to tell you that takes a while. because you're still afraid. The moment the fear leaves you, the moment you're like, okay, I can wait. I don't care if it takes months or years. I'm spending 100 years on Earth anyway. Might as well learn being and how to be. As soon as time is irrelevant and all you have is the well being of the moment, insane amounts of opportunity comes your way. I'm not those guys who say insane blessings right away because you actually have to meet the opportunity. You get invited to places, you get job offers or whatever, and you got to actually show that you're in the world and you're not just in illusionary states, right? But all these illusions can be colored when your foot touches the ground and you get activated. But until then, nope. Nope. It's always a bigger dream or a smaller dream or a dream. It's just a dream, bro. It's always a dream to you until you're activated in the world. So the only way to live is to live in the state of the wish fulfilled. You've already got what you wanted. What would you do? And a lot of you go into this, I would think of something bigger out of fear. Man, if you got $1 million and a great schedule and a good group of friends, where would you go? Well, I've always wanted to go to this canyon. Go to the canyon, bro. What are you waiting to get to hit 50 fucking years old? Go see the Grand Canyon now. Because your dreams have already come true. And you're going to realize, man, driving this canyon, there was no fear. I met some great people there. They do computer programming. They're good friends. And actually, one of them has a spot open because their roommate is leaving. And it's a couple states away, but I think I'm gonna go kick it with these guys. These guys seem cool. And they're doing the same work I want to do, and boom, you go there, and that's how the fucking FaZe Clan started. That's how Ricky started the whole thing. Zero fear, which is the only business way to be. You can tell you're going backwards in life when there's nothing in your day that feels like a new episode. That's why these anime characters we watched as a kid were the best to us, because it's always a new episode with them. I think, Ash Ketchum didn't win a fucking trophy or he didn't become a Pokemon master for like 20 years or some shit. Like, he's a big laughing stock in the anime world. But he met a billion people along the way, and you would never, ever want to trade his position for someone else's. You'd rather be Ash Ketchum than a lot of the masters he did meet along the way. His journey was a lot more colorful. And he becomes better than them eventually in his own appointed hour. Does that make sense? Because I've had a lot of people say to me, it's always like this. The last couple months, John, my life's great and nothing even happened. I'm just living in the state fulfilled and da 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 da. But I'm in this inner calm and it's great. And I'm like, oh, you going to work and stuff? They're like, yeah, everything's the same. But I just feel great all the time. And I'm like, what is great? What does that greatness feel like? They're like, it's like an absence of feeling, because feeling implies a swing, right? It's like what you say. There's no swing to my emotions. It's kind of like the plane is just going higher and higher slowly. And then within a couple months, they always say, dude, the craziest shit happened to me. Like, yo, man, this is the biggest opportunity. And I'm like, man, what the fuck? That's going to come with some fear. Careful, you're swinging now. Well, Zerka, everything you said was correct. I'm like, yeah, obviously. Everyone knows when the matrix is shifting for them. It comes from a different sense of being. It's never come from something you grab in the external world. A good way to explain it for you guys is if you guys were YouTubers, if you guys hung out with YouTubers, you would be shocked at how many of these people try and befriend you when you just completely forget about them. You're in your own world. They all want to be your friend. But when you're on Twitch and you're trying to collab and get your podcast going, none of them want you because you're doing it out of this fear, this, what if my podcast isn't that great? And really, what I'm saying is mastering being, however it looks to you, is the best way to one day say, okay, turn the podcast, start the podcast, and now you're competing with Joe Rogan, right? That's what people click into if you look at it through the YouTuber lens. The guys that pop off and we love them, there's something magnetic about them, right? But when they're filled with fear and all this other stuff, it's hard to watch. Have you ever watched YouTubers who constantly talk about the goals and everything they want to accomplish, and you're like exhausted listening to this shit? Whether they achieve, some of them even achieve these goals, and you're still tired of hearing it, right? Because you're really watching someone else's life to understand being and how to have your own life. That's what we all do when we're bored. Is there another way of being that's good? Now, there's going to come some massive ego inflation when you start winning with your new sense of self. And I don't think you can really avoid that. It happens to everyone. The ego inflation part. I don't think you can ever. That car beeping is driving me nuts right now. But I don't think you can avoid the ego inflation for when you start realizing this is the only way to play the game. Or a lot of you guys get a girlfriend and the game shifts big time. And so a lot of you guys hear this and say, okay, I'm going to avoid the girlfriend part out of fear. And let's say deep down you want that part. So now you're in trouble because you're operating out of fear. Well, no, if I want to be successful, I got to avoid the girl thing. And it's like, avoid? Did you just use a term that implies you're afraid? Well, yeah, I don't want to have my heart broken now that I've started making good money and I'm really understanding myself. And I shampoo my body with my left hand just to remind myself that I'm a different garment today, and I'm not owned by the minutes of the past. And it's like, bro, you sound very afraid. So Zerg, are you saying the all without end should be on my hand? I should do it all? And it's like, yeah, man. When that girlfriend thing comes up, you have to do that too and learn the heartbreak, the lesson, and all that. But it'll come with a dark dream state. Yeah, but if you don't have the girlfriend, if you don't have what you are desiring, you're locking up the petals of your heart, your bundles of nerves there, which is not good for you. But Zerga, that's kind of a naive way to live. Not really, because if you accept that whatever happens has to be dealt with, then everything that happens to you, you are prepared for. Like if you notice, man cannot do anything, things just happen to him. If he doesn't get the girlfriend, focuses on the business, yeah, he makes a lot of money, but it's a huge counterbalance because he's not receiving love. That means he can't give love. That means he gets sick. And you'll notice that any guy who's spent time with their girlfriend and then their mom and dad and then their friends and then they went to work, you'll notice how full of light that human is. Like we don't date human beings so that we can receive love from them. It feels that way, but it's actually the opposite. We date human beings so we can generate love towards them and everyone else around us. Humans want to love things. Ronaldo loves football. He loves his family. And this sounds like, cookie cutter, corny shit, but it's the only way of being. The heart is the most ancient organ we have. So the ancients would talk about the heart as being the center of everything. If you're ever running from something, how long is that going to last until you snap? Jesus points to the heart. Exactly. This is why also Jesus says, forgive. How many times, chat? How many times should you forgive? And the beautiful thing about forgiving is if you forgive someone you're mad at, let's say a coworker or something, you'll notice how much more time you could spend on your sales. Like you'll be chilling with him after you forgave him, and you're not filled with this poison, so you're thinking of sales, and he's yapping, and you're kind of ignoring it. You're kind of want to like, you want to leave the lunch break and go back into sales, and you're going to sell a shit ton of things as your heart's open. You're going to be magnetic. But if you don't forgive him, you're eating that sandwich and just thinking about that argument you guys had for months to years. I hate people who say just a couple of weeks and years. Are you kidding me? Every time he's around, every time someone mentions him in the group chat. So if you're not forgiving, you're really, really becoming a bitch to yourself. And scripture really laid it down perfectly, as in, it's not teaching you how to become a saint. Most people don't do that in this lifetime. But it's definitely teaching you how to climb the ladder, right? How to climb Jacob's ladder perfectly. Now, if you're hyper moral, which comes with ego inflation, you might forgive him so much that you're a bitch to yourself. And then when you feel like a bitch in your inner world, he snakes you again. Correct? But I've noticed men have a lot to prove after they forgive each other. So the friendship kind of actually becomes stronger. So if you ever worried about what to do in life, you can always refer back to scripture. You don't have to come to these calls. You can always go back to scripture. You can always see the basics, and the basics really deal with the complications of life. Because life is so mechanical. A human is so mechanical that he really does not know what to do because he's on autopilot all the time. The more autonomous he is, the worse it is for him. With some good surprises. There's some good stuff that happens sometimes, and you think, "Oh, I did that." It's like, no, it kind of just happened to you, bro. Because angels give us spiritual gifts all the time of light. Angels give us a bunch of things. We block out about 90% of it. They say use 10% of your brain for blah blah blah, right? No, we block out a lot, right? 99% of it, I'd say we block out. How do you open your heart out without being ignorant? That's the thing, is when you are living in your state of confidence, wealth, and health, it's very hard to get scammed again, right? But if you're hyper moral and becoming a saint because you're reading scripture and you're lying to yourself, it's all illusionary, then you become this guy who could get snaked by everyone because you're just turning the cheek every single time, as if half the Bible's not also talking about being strong, right? You shouldn't be just hyper focused like an autistic guy at certain verses, right? And I'll always say well-being decides. If you feel like you're being snaked, there'll be a sense of ill-being in you that you'll ignore, and then you'll get snaked. These questions, I gotta go soon. Okay. Is it more that you're forgiving yourself and not the other person? 100%, because if you don't forgive someone, you're holding in this poison. Like, I'm all for being angry. Angry is energy, but if I fall out of my state, within a couple of weeks, I see the damage it does to all the blessings, health, money, everything. I see it weeks later, and I always tie it up. I don't know if anyone else is like me, but has anyone else seen every couple of weeks you assess how your life's going, and then you monitor it there from there? Whereas regular human beings, I think they go day by day. Today sucks. For me, it's like, hey, run it its full course for a couple of weeks and see how things are going. What do you think about bringing down your guardian angel? Yeah, I don't believe in any of those practices because remember, in the ancient mysteries, when they would do stuff like that, it was a whole temple ceremony for that, right? Only a dark being would do that in their own bedroom with a technique they learned online from texts that have been misinterpreted 1,000 times. Does spamming a phrase over and over cover something? What? Does spamming a phrase over and over work even if it's lazy? Yeah, that's called the affirmation of like Kobe Bryant and all these guys. 100% it works, but I don't think it's that effective compared to actually talking to yourself. Like in the shower, you want to remember to do something, say it out loud. It's very hard to forget that thing. I need to buy shoes at the mall today. And the more it sounds like it's a conversation with you and you that's real, the easier it just sticks and floats up throughout the day and you don't forget things like that. Right? And now it shouldn't be a need, but this is the language we use. But careful also with the language. I even laugh to myself when I'm alone if something funny happens, which a lot of humans don't do that. Did you know a lot of humans save their laughter for when they're around people? And when they're alone, they just kind of smile at something funny. And that's them really locking up their heart. It's not a healthy way to live. It's kind of like you're waiting to, it's sad because it's like you're waiting to enjoy things with other people, but you can always enjoy other things with other people and learn to enjoy being around yourself. Right? That's what the whole game's about. And when I say enjoy being around self, I mean like we're trying to bring awareness to clear eyes. I'm not just saying being happy for the sake of it. I'm saying we're the happiest when we have clear eyes. I think where a lot of people go wrong is they're so into social media that they can only enjoy a moment if it's like a public thing. A lot of people live like that, and you're really living for the anger you have for the world. You want the world to be jealous of you because maybe they said something mean to you, and it's like, bro, you could waste years and years of your life getting back at them, right? Flexing on them on the gram and all that. But you spent years and years unhappy for one post where you bought a mansion or some stupid shit like that. But really, you could have spent years and years canoeing and studying yourself, right? You could have actually gotten fresh air. You could have felt great for years. Some of you guys can't even go canoeing without taking a picture of it and posting it online. And I used to be like that because I'm like, oh, I can get paid for this and stuff. But man, the most I ever got paid when I said fuck social media. I don't even see myself there, right? I got to go back to my basics, the shit that built me. See, it's actually insane how I could get you guys off social media for a long time, let's say. You'll have another fucking 80, 70 years on Earth with social media, and it's only going to get more as technology progresses. That's why I don't think you guys should ever rush to that. It's like people who rush to the money, they don't actually get it. It's the people who magnetize the money. You know? Like I guarantee you, the more deeper I live in myself, the bigger and bigger and bigger are my sales of what people who want to listen to this after work. They go to my website and study. I've seen it time and time again. I've had it a lot easier because I have a twin brother who will tell me which state of self is operating the best. So over time, I really just going back and forth with him. I realize, when he says, "What are you doing different this week?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm doing everything worse because I'm really kind of non-existent online." And he's like, "Yeah, but what are you doing that's generating this kind of income even when you're around sneakos and like this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I think my words are hitting harder to the people." And he said, "Yeah, okay, do that, but you should also YouTube. You know what I mean? You should take advantage of the growth." I'm like, "Yeah, but I've got the rest of my life to do that. But I also have the rest of my life to master myself, right?" And here's the crazy part is a lot of people achieve within a couple of years mastery of themselves for moments throughout their day. That's a great sign, right? For a couple hours throughout the day, that's huge, right? Because let me tell you this, I'm not those phonies online that tell you you'll have control of every minute. No, there's going to be mega parts of your day when you're asleep and automatic. There's going to be mega parts of your day where you become a fucking pleb NPC. That'll happen to everyone. It's an exhaustion thing, correct? Where you go back to just watching TV. That'll happen to so many of you and me and every. Never listen to these fake gurus who go, "I'll teach you complete mastery of your mind." Right? You wouldn't even want complete mastery like that, right? You're not God. Like, what the fuck? You want to have mastery of a couple hours of your day that build. Then there's 10 minutes every day after that added onto it. And over a year, you see even mega changes over that. And as you're getting more, you're wanting less. And that middle point is the kingdom within that is heaven on earth, man. That is when all the trees are green and all the sky is blue, no matter what. That's when winter is just summer sleeping and you love it. That's when you see the sun at midnight. That's when you start penetrating in the mysteries of nature. That's when you stop telling people what's happening to you because they wouldn't get it. They're not there yet, right? They're either higher in their development or lower. They're higher to where, oh, that's old news to me, or they're lower to where you sound crazy. And this is all that meditation on death, where it's like, hey, if we all know every day of our lives, one day we're going to die, let's get this well-being thing down correct. Okay? Because we don't want to turn into our dads, our moms, our grandparents, our how much suffering have you how many faces have you seen of your family and friends and regular civilians where they're just kind of going through the motions, and you really want to be like 8 billion people on earth? Or do you want to be the top 1% that is miserable as well? You understand what I'm saying? That there is this balance to life that's the butter of it. A great marketing expert would tell me, no, no, tell the chat they're going to be the top 1%. And it's like, a lot of those guys kill themselves. Everything you do in this world should maximize the enjoyment of it with not wanting it. That middle will be everything to you. And that middle, you've seen it in a bunch of YouTubers, that middle comes with millions and millions of dollars to some of you city folk who love your money, right? If you grew up in the countryside, maybe you're not as interested, but if you grew up in the city, I see that you guys look at spiritual economy a lot more. If you're in the farm life, then you guys are looking more of a sense of well-being, right? Everyone has their own kind of system that they're going through, right? Their own social system. All right, let's see. Bro, why am I addicted to this weed state? Yeah, I think you're associating strong pleasure from being high. And let me tell you something, you're asleep, dude. When you're in an altered state, you did not really choose that state, bro. You're smoking and chemically changing the particles in your brain, correct? You're changing the receiver. Sometimes you're tuning into the right energy, sometimes the wrong energy, but you don't know. You're not in control. And that's not going with the flow, bro. You're just high. I've studied this stuff so long that I could easily spark up a joint with you if I see you, but I can never smoke alone. I can never do anything alone that puts me asleep. You know, if I want to have a good nap, I'll go smoke up with a homie once a month. But I can never be a victim of habit. I'm too old for that too. You know, I've done a lot of stupid shit in my life, so it's not just you. How do you stop blocking the blessings that are being sent your way? Yeah, the only way to describe this is you cannot receive when you are afraid. Not going to make sense to you till the right things happen to you in your life, and you're not even going to bother messaging me about it because you're going to be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. And the horrible part is you're going to want to jump and save your friends and family and tell them how to use, how to live in the world, how to be. And they're not going to listen. You know what I mean? Everyone has their own times that they get into. Like, I'll tell you this, most humans get into this kind of a discipline of being for cycles. 6 months of the year, 4 months of the year, 2 months. Most people, summertime, they're trying to lock in or whatever. And they're up and down until they're 80 years old, filled with fear, up and then filled with confidence, down, up, down, whatever the fuck. And it keeps switching. And they think, oh, they did something on earth. And it's like, you can learn your lessons on earth however you want. I don't agree with modern day teachings. I think we're victims of modernity. I only agree with the ancients because I've seen it in my life. And that's the only thing I can go on. I have a million sources I could cite. It's kind of stupid. I should speak from experience because, listen, we can talk about data all you want. I like that stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't even convince you that I'm real or you're real. You know, you make up your own mind about that shit. But everyone here is real. We're all in the world. We can all cultivate love. We can all do the right thing. But can we all be? Do we all know how to be? What's our level of being? Should I get a bumblebee tattooed on my face so we remember? Huh? Should we get some bumblebees? Someone post fucking bees in the chat so we remember? And what are bees doing? They're building a fucking hive. They're all bringing their talent. They're bringing something to the hive. And they all try to impregnate their unconscious, which is the queen bee, and imprint a good, or what you guys call the subconscious. So they've mixed up those terms too much. Now I'm telling you right now, oh, does it get repetitive? Oh, yes, even when you're locking in every day, I do this. Even if I don't do a call about it, I do it to myself. I'll find different artistic expressions, different ways to lock in with all this coding I have, right? But let me tell you this. Look at your family, friends, and people around you. Do you ever see some fearful look in their eye as they're scrolling on their phone? And have you noticed every scroll is a different dream they go into? Different bubble, different sphere of consciousness? And some of those bubbles they save for later, and some they just skip. But it's not them. There's no being to them. It's actually kind of like a zombie. So I'll conclude with this one thing. If anything brings you fear, it is not for you. As soon as you're confident, as soon as you find yourself, you can go tackle the dragon and then tell me how fear feels. Then you'll tell me, actually, it feels like energy. It feels like I'm energized. But before, it felt like I'm energized within in a locking mechanism where my feet don't work and it's like gripping at me and the energy's just swirling inside my head and it's too much. Right? And then all you have to say is, I am healthy. And boom, you're lifted as if it's like a meme almost. Like, oh my God, that was kind of funny. It worked. And sometimes you'll say it in a weak tone of voice and you won't feel it. You won't know how to spiritually adjust posture. And you'll do this over bad and good for a year. And then the next year comes and you're doing every fucking day of your life like the good old days and everything is moving correct. And then the only thing you're thinking of is, all right, give me some turmoil now. Now I like to jump. I like to jump around like the gladiator show on TV, jumping on all the boxes and shit. Julia says, I only get burst of 2 to 3 seconds. Yeah, that shows your attention, your awareness, right? It shows how weak it is. It shows that you're a scroller, that you scroll more than anyone here. Everyone scrolls a lot, but you're probably number one because that's very short, right? Until you can actually turn your mind off and all that chatter, you can't do anything. Does that mean I gotta become like a monk in the city for at least 20 minutes of your morning? Yes, that's what it means. And here's the crazy thing is you're gonna realize those 10,000 things that come haunt you, they don't go away. Sometimes it's harder, sometimes it's whatever. They don't go away. I've had people who killed it in their life and then they fall off, and those 10,000 things become a billion things. And there's some guilt to that too because they know what to do, they just don't want to do it, right? But there will come a point in your ups and downs, and I think it's when you guys are older, but it should really be now, right? If you're smart, it should be now. But I'm not allowed to claim that because I didn't do it that fast, and I knew exactly what to do, right? I would preach about it on my Twitch channels, and right for years I knew what to do. But when became like breathing to me, oh man, million different opportunities that I don't even access, bro. Well, I'm really saying 10 opportunities, but in the YouTuber world, those are huge. Get on this podcast, come to Vegas, do this, that Chinese guy's podcast and stuff like that. And it's like, nigga, please. Why did you want to escape being a bouncer? Was it just pure luck? Why did I want to escape working as at a bar? Because it paid $12 an hour, and I lived in a city where a small little hut costs $1 million. So I had the gripping fear of. I don't think an American can even understand the fear I was in. And it dominated me for a long time until I stopped giving a fuck. And then they put me on shows and they really liked me. Because they're like, this guy's so destructive, but he doesn't give a fuck. That's magnetic enough for us to put him on a show. Think he'll be funny. He'll hurt the girl's feelings, blah, 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 blah. But really, it's because I didn't give a fuck. As soon as people sense within the week, your most confident week where you don't give a fuck, they all want to fuse souls with you. And it's like, it is corrupt to say that you're angry about that because really, you're supposed to uplift their souls. Now that you stop giving a fuck, you're supposed to share that, right? And that's why people gain a lot of followers on social media a lot of the times. Have you ever seen someone who just doesn't give a fuck and they don't have anything good for you? They're not even that intelligent, but you like their spirit, so you follow them. You like what they say. They get banned. They don't give a fuck, and you just click. You want to support them for some reason because you're really fusing souls with them, right? We fuse souls with a lot of things, and then we change. We change them all the time. Like, here's a scary one that this is going to make the call 10 out of 10, right? Did you know that a lot of men fuse souls with the e-girl they watched? In their world, at least. And the e-girl can feel it too, how many people are watching her. She can kind of grasp the desperation. She can feel the energy through the screen. Kind of like how energy healing works in the spiritual community, where they can do it on a Zoom call. And a lot of people laugh at that. They're like, what the fuck? You don't have to be there with their energy healer. You can just do it through a Zoom call. And it's like people feel consciousness, man. Just like the quartz crystals that hold consciousness in computers. Look how computers work. How are you even listening to me? Study that and you'll realize, whoa, there's an ocean of consciousness. We're in this. A lot of people are drowning too. Which is interesting how the creator made an ocean where you can grow any kind of island in it, right? Or you can manifest the islands that have all been created already. And then everyone just drowns because they go, I don't know what kind of island to go to. I don't know which one to bring into my line of view. And so most people just drown because of like limitless opportunity. In the past, in ancient times, it wasn't like that. There's a few kind of systems you can go to live your life, but it wasn't like do whatever the fuck you want. Nowadays, people initiate with you're born in a city and you can do whatever you want. Actually, freedom is the largest component to your initiation now, you know? But you got to remember, as the crown of creation, to become free is to be a leader, right? People around you, they want whatever that is that that aura you're just radiating. Now, you hate yourself a bit, and that aura it disappears. You hate yourself a lot, then people actually tune in to feed off your misery, right? But it is interesting how a bunch of humans acting like demons can all become healthy within 5 minutes of hearing true confidence, right? That's why a lot of times we love Trump, that no fear mentality. But we've seen interviews where he's afraid, and we go, "Wow, this guy's a fucking bitch. He's afraid of Israel." Have you ever looked at an interview of like your hero Trump and realized, "Whoa, he looks scared here," and like all that magnetic energy just kind of disappears, and you kind of start resenting the guy. Same thing with him. Look at you. I like Trump because when he was bankrupt, he put his chin up high and said, I'm worth more than all these banks. And they literally gave him another chance. Because that's how people, even the top bankers in the world, international banking system, bowed to him because everyone wants that confidence. Like a lot of people say, no, it's because they want their money back and they think Trump can do it. And it's like, why do they think that he can do it, bro? Because there's no one else for the job. And no, they've actually killed many people throughout history that have done the same thing as he did. Right? Like, did you know the kings of the Matrix? They can be in awe of your confidence. There's been so many recorded things throughout history where kings have chilled with confident peasants who become somebody in the village, in the kingdom, and whatever. They become the highest rank. And a lot of people want to point to, well, that's just friendship. Or maybe he made that master laugh, that king, that. No, dude. It's you can be magnetic enough to have billionaires helping you out. And many people have done this. It's not many like the 8 billion on earth that do nothing with their lives, but I'm saying like throughout history, it's a significant amount of people. Am I being magnetic right? I am magnetic. There's no simile. I am like a magnet. It's a metaphor. It's the state you enter. From that state, all things are added onto you. The job interview goes great, everything goes great. And you're gonna be shocked at how many things go great in your life where nothing happens but you feel good. Anyone in that phase? Anyone in that phase of I get messages from a bunch of people saying, "Yeah, I'm in that phase," and they try and hold on to it. They're like, "No, make sure nothing change." I don't know if I should answer that the opportunity because I'm feeling so good right now. I'll just magnetize more, and it's like, no, you have to play the game too, right? You can't lock out of the game. And so yeah, by the time I'm 55, I'll have a book out within the next couple of years for sure. But I really think when I make my billions and billions of success, so I reach billions and billions of others, right? My ego is just there right now. It's gonna be from writing the ultimate book, dude. The book is gonna be called Fuck You, written to the world. Now, I just made that up right now, but That would be me though. It's just I'm worried I turn a lot of people off from my teachings because it's not my teachings, but I'm worried I turn a lot of people off with that. But that's just who I am. I need the title to be the completely different from what the book is about, right? The sequel would be called "Fuck You Too," written by you guys. It's like it's like the yearbook part of the school year where everyone has to sign the "Fuck You Too." Yeah, yeah. Life is good, man. Life's always been good. It's dream states that have been bad. You've been asleep. And I don't blame a lot of people for being asleep because check this out, man. A lot of people don't want the things I talk about, and they think that they'll hit a realization in their sleep state that allows them to get what they want, which is different from things that I want. But we all want the same thing, and it's that sense of being, confidence, health, and wealth to do the things we want, which is freedom, right? We all want to be free, one shackle at a time. That being said, I would say one more thing. Hold on. Now that the spring summer have started, we're we're going to be entering an expansive phase, as always. Everything that I've planned all winter is just beginning. So go tell your friends and go tell everyone that, hey, at this point in my life right now, the best value is with the Zerka guy. Check him out. Okay. Someone's got to do the marketing. I know it's my job, but it's really your guys' job now. He says, my friends think you're okay. I think we're done here.